Hey, friends. Well, I just had a lesson with Madeline after several weeks. I don't know how to keep putting into words how transformative each lesson is, and I wonder if I sound like a crazy person as I tell you this each time because it feels like I make this big dramatic overture out of each experience, but I'm telling you, it's real. It's truly amazing. It blows my mind every time. And obviously it comes out of this enthusiasm for the music and the instrument. And so when big changes happen, and even when it's a little tiny change, that's the thing about piano. Big changes are little changes. They're a lay person watching might not even be able to observe the difference, but they probably could hear the difference. And the experience as the person playing the piano is just it's like little by little these structural pieces of piano technique, musical awareness begin to fall into place, and it's just so thrilling every single time. So I'm still kind of basking in that, I guess. The lesson was about an hour ago, but there's something that wanted to come through today. It came out of a conversation with a friend and student thought partner this morning, which it was centers around this idea of observing our own work. Like when I would record a cabaret and then watch it afterwards, or when we write something and then read it afterwards, or give a speech and listen to it afterwards. This post has been an exercise in that for me when I actually watch my posts, which is relatively rare, but not never. But there's an experience that I think we all know of watching ourselves work, or witnessing our own creative output. And it's one of the most difficult things to do. And I think, obviously, a likely explanation for that is that we know ourselves so well. And so all of the little things we're doing, all of the little, especially for me anyway, I'll just speak kind of for myself, but the ways that I know my ego is like going for something, because I'm so hyper aware of my own patterns, or at least even if I'm not aware of them, I can identify them. I can see them in myself. They just are super cringy because I know what, whereas to someone else, they might not be reading me quite as closely. Or if I were watching someone else and they had patterns going on, I might, I'll be interpreting them through my own lens, and I won't necessarily be so inside of every little internal move that they're making. But with ourselves, we see it all. We cannot fool ourselves. And so there's this cringy thing that I think we're all familiar with about observing our own work. And what came out, so we were discussing this in the session this morning, and what came out of it was a kind of an insight that if you can listen to yourself or watch yourself, if we can witness our own work with empathy and openness, we can listen to anybody or watch anybody with empathy and openness, because there's almost nobody whom we're going to be as likely to be A, critical of, and B, hyper tuned in to every little nuance of what we might or might not like about what we're doing. And so there's this really interesting way, and this is kind of actually, as I speak about it, it makes me conscious that I should probably do this more, because observing ourselves in that way and having a practice of self-observation that's that kind of penetrating is really good training for working with other people, because we're giving ourselves the sort of almost like the ultimate challenge of listening to someone who we can see right through because they're us, and reflecting on that work with empathy and love and support, and literally finding the best method for either evaluating and or instructing and nurturing the next steps of growth in this creative person's life. And the creative person happens to be us. If we can do that for ourselves, doing it for other people is going to be a breeze, because we're naturally inclined to have empathy and sensitivity. We know when we're engaging with another human being, there's a kind of intuitive sense that, like, we know they're sensitive, we know they're vulnerable, we know people are exposing their kind of deepest selves when they do creative work, or whether it's giving a speech or writing anything that's really kind of born out of our own impulses, out of our own authentic self. We know people are in a vulnerable place. And so there's just something that I'm tracking about how working with myself in that way actually is spectacular practice for teaching or leadership or parenting. Any number of contexts come to mind where the ability to do that is really key, because there's also a thing that we get as from the student side. In reflecting on ourselves, we get to be both the teacher and the student. And from the student side, there are things we need. There's certain things we kind of need. Like, I always think about how I was as a young person, and some of the issues I had and some of the obstacles I faced in all the various pursuits that I had that felt so important at the time, and how I just struggled to make the progress I wanted to make and didn't know how to do it. And I think about how easy, what a good coach I would be for that younger self. Because I would know, I would have a real inside view of exactly what this person, i.e. me's, struggles were, what I was contending with. Well, we can do that. We can actually do that now. And then, of course, as the teacher, we know some of what the student's struggles are. And as the student, things are going to come up. We need to feel this. Hey, I need to feel this. I need this affirmed in order to be able to embrace whatever my next step is, right? And that stuff, but that stuff also shows up under scrutiny in a way that it doesn't show up. Like, I think about, for example, the difference between me practicing piano at the instrument. I am the student of the piano. I'm the musician. I'm the creator. I'm the I'm the artist, and I have a certain view of myself from that perspective, versus like watching a video of myself, where now I'm sitting outside. I'm not making the music. I'm not touching the instrument. I'm strictly observing myself as I play. And there's just a heightened scrutiny, a different level of awareness that can come in there. And it's one that we absolutely are capable of leveraging it at ourselves and for ourselves. But it's a step. It's an extra step. And and I guess what showed up in the conversation this morning is both this kind of insight that if we can do this for ourselves, then we're really laying the foundation for deep work with other folks. And in and of itself, what an important practice that can be. Because again, like, imagine having a teacher that could see literally everything about you and knew all the little nooks and crannies of your particular foibles and fears and issues and, you know, all that stuff. The challenge is really to remain open to it and to be able to hold it when it shows up, to not cringe so hard that we want to look away. You know, and we get good at this over time as artists. I think you get used to that gaze. That gaze has come from other people, you know, really deep, insightful, wise teachers who you can tell from the first 3 words they say that they're seeing right through you, and you can't hide. And also from our own, you know, from our own experience. Just we've been in that position enough times to kind of know, oh yeah, these are my things. But for myself, I'm clocking this as an important practice and something that I might want to unpack a little bit deeper, go a little bit deeper with this as a consistent practice, and really find some ways of getting an external view of myself here and there, because things show up that do not show up when I'm in the position of the artist, of the, you know, when I'm in the driver's seat. I need to get out of the driver's seat and watch for a little while so I can see what the driver's doing. So that's what I'm encouraging myself to do today. It feels like a valuable practice to add into things. So that's what I got today, people. Thanks for watching. Much love. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow.